In November of 2016, the voters of Baltimore County approved a law which calls for a reexamination of the county's charter, a reform of the county charter, and in order to keep it up to date. And also, if there's issues out there that the charter does not address that need to be addressed, then the commission would consider them. My problem is that, of course, as a county council member and the county council in general, we do a lot of land use issues. And when the members of the commission were appointed, 4 of the 9 appointed are lobbyists. Basically, they're lobbyists for land use issues. So when you take a look at the county charter, you'll see that there's sections dealing with the Board of Appeals, for instance, and the Board of Appeals is a very important part of the zoning process. If a decision from the ALJ goes against what a community wants or goes against what the developer wants, the Board of Appeals is the next step of appeal. And I just don't think it's proper that you have people, lobbyists, who appear before the Board of Appeals in the position to recommend changes to the charter in regard to the Board of Appeals. And also you have the situation of procurement. We have lobbyists who represent various groups that are attempting to become contractors in the state of Maryland, contractors in Baltimore County, or provide services for Baltimore County. And I think that the procurement laws need to be looked at objectively, and I have a concern that someone who is a lobbyist, who's on retainer from a land developer, whoever, may have difficulty separating those interests from any decision made. One thing I can say for sure, though, is when the voters of Baltimore County approved the Charter Review Commission question, I know that they never thought that this commission would have lobbyists on it. The county charter is a citizens charter. It's the contract between the people and setting up Baltimore County government. And I know for a fact that people would never dream that there'd be lobbyists on it. I did a poll which I know the results are very accurate. We wouldn't allow people to double vote, triple vote. And we have well over 500 responses, and only 11 disagree and feel that it's okay for lobbyists to be on the commission. The rest think they should not be on the commission. Now, I don't have any problems with lobbyists. Lobbyists, as long as they have credibility, and most do, if they tell the truth, they give their side of the arguments. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that they're under retainer by these various organizations, companies, etc. And here they're going to be taking a look at the charter, which has a direct effect on the system. And that's wrong.
Well, it's kind of like letting the fox guard the hen house, in my eyes.
I think you could say that. I mean, the analogy could be accurate. Now, of course, with an analogy like that, you're questioning really the integrity of of the lobbyists that are going to be on this commission, but my concern is they're on retainer from various groups. And where is their obligation? Is there obligation with the groups that they're under retainer, or with the public? It's going to be it could prove to be difficult for them.
Well, this is the first time we've met for this interview, but I've been involved in some of the PUD processes and some of the battles to stop them. One is the North Point Government Center in my community of Dundalk, and I went to a hearing where a Mr. Ruckel was standing next to Larry Schmidt and started the presentation. So somebody from the county came in with Larry Schmidt and then said, well, I'll turn it over to Larry Schmidt now. So they were at the same table fighting against the people's lawyer at the other table there. So that was absolutely amazing to me. Now, if he would have called...
Now, was Mr. Schmidt working for the county at the time?
No, he was not. He was actually working for the law firm.
He worked in this... He was in the zoning... Who was he?
He was like school board.
No. Before that, he did have a role in county government. So he... Okay, now I'm somewhat familiar with this issue, and of course my concern always is openness, transparency, so that the people, in this case of Dundalk, know exactly what's going on. And I don't know what process was followed, but that would be my major concern, that there be community meetings, meaningful community input, discussions between the community and whoever is making this decision. I don't know if that happened. I wasn't there.
Well, we did have some community meetings, but it's just, I'm just saying it's, shocking that that would happen. Then went to a school board meeting where Jim Smith was there, and he sat down. They were calling him Mr. County Executive. He was talking about things for the county, and then also talking about the what was happening with his law firm. So everyone in the room was totally stunned. It seemed like a major conflict of interest, but at the same time, it seemed like business as usual. So
well, no, wait. Why was Jim Smith there?
He was representing Glenn Weinberger, Vanguard, for the redevelopment of the North Point Government Center.
Oh, this was an interested party. In other words,
well, he was there representing.
This was a PUD, right? And he was there representing a developer who wanted to develop that property. Am I correct?
Yes.
And he was, in essence, on retainer from this company.
Yes.
So now he's not been appointed to this.
But his son has.
But his son has been appointed, and it's the law firm now. Mr. Smith says that he does not do land use, etc. issues, but nevertheless, he's a partner in a law firm.
Well, basically, I'm just saying
that does a tremendous amount of this kind of business, dealing with zoning, property, etc. So
it's amazing the things that happen. So my point that I wanted to get to is these other things happen. So greatly appreciate that you stepped forward and said there seems to be something that just isn't exactly right with this, and
it's not what the people expect.
And you support it.
It's not. I supported it initially. And you never assume, but I assumed that we were talking about citizen members of this commission. I think that there is a role for lobbyists. I really do. I think that, yes, they know the charter. Yes, they know the system where it comes to land use or whatever. And they may have some very good suggestions for the commission to consider.
And I agree with that.
And that is fine, because I think that would be helpful to the commission. But I don't think it's right for them to be on the commission making these decisions, because there's always the chance that a recommendation is going to come down that is not going to necessarily be in the public interest. And that's my concern. Now, I know that some of the people who are, don't support what my views on this are saying, well, they're just recommendations. Well, these recommendations are coming from a commission that's going to have public meetings, that commission that's going to study these issues, and they're going to make the report. What if the commission, just for example, I personally feel that county legislation right now, if it's not acted upon within 40 days, it's dead. I think it should be a longer period of time to give the council more time to work on it. And so, what if that issue doesn't come up? Or what if maybe that doesn't suit certain groups or a certain special interest, because they have a better chance of maybe killing something because it's a short period of time. So there's all kinds of issues. You have, as I said, the Board of Appeals. That's in our county charter. What their job is, their responsibilities, their powers. I did notice that in the county charter it talked about that Baltimore County must abide with the open meetings law. Well, when I take a look at the Board of Appeals hearings before the Board of Appeals, they aren't hearings held in the district. They're held in Towson. And so the property is signed with, this is going to be an issue between the Board of Appeals, and the meeting would be in Towson on whatever particular date. I think that it would be beneficial if these meetings were held in the area that is directly affected by this change. I mean, I represent northern Baltimore County, so we're going to have people drive from Freeland down to Towson. We have people drive from Dundalk
I heard
to Towson.
that. I just heard that today about the parking and just coming through the metal detector.
It is.
And if you have people with disabilities.
So, I just think that it would be beneficial to the public if the public part of this, at least, could be held in the area where the proposed change is taking place. I don't know that this issue would be brought up. I don't know, since I would think that most of the lobbyists who represent groups before the Board of Appeals work in this area, I would think they would want, this is convenient for them.
Now, there was two things that you mentioned. You mentioned the time limit. That's quite all right. The time limit, the 30 days or 40 days before it died. There's a lot of talk all the time about that, about pushing that further.
Yes.
So there is more time to have more input, especially from the community. The community feels totally left out, and likewise with this new commission, we had a CAN meeting last night, and everyone there wanted community leaders to be on that board, and just like you said, the lobbyists could have helped guide, guide or give their input.
Issues and ways to improve it. Yeah, and I would want them to be part of it, absolutely. But as you said, I mean, that's not the way that it's shaping up to be. And the reason why I went public with this early is I was hoping that maybe some of the people that were appointed, that the people that appointed them to the commission may have a change of heart and decide, maybe this isn't a good idea and I should put a citizen, somebody from my area I represent on the commission. I don't even know if all the members of the commission actually live in the councilmatic district that they're appointed from. I don't know. So I really don't know.
Things happen quickly, I understand.
Yeah, and as far as the legislation, the 40 days, that is vital because we have what's called work sessions 1 month after, approximately 28 days, 1 month after the bill is introduced. And those sessions are public input. And after that, really, we would benefit as a council, either with a subcommittee or the entire council, again, meeting and taking a look at amendments, looking at the bills line by line, and having spokespersons from the interested parties to try to thrash this out. And that doesn't happen on a complicated, controversial issue. One public meeting is usually not sufficient.
Yeah, even two. The community feels like they're being steamrolled. I have people coming to me all the time doing Dundalk TV telling me that, there's plenty of things that are said that there's a done deal, but if you don't fight, you're going to get steamrolled. So
well, all I can say
it costs a lot of money too, and a lot of people put years of their lives into these fights.
And I can name people in my community and others who have devoted year after year to this, and those people need to be thanked for all they do. Because if it weren't for some of the watchdogs in Baltimore County, other things may have happened that would be detrimental. So. And if anything, we need to be more open and give the public more of an opportunity to participate in legislative decisions, whatever, than to limit the amount of time that an issue is allowed to proceed, which is 40 days. And then because of requirements in the law of public posting in a newspaper of when these work sessions are going to happen, it's like you can't even have a public meeting for 28 days. So you take a look at that, you have your work session, and then, my goodness, a week later, we're voting, and then you can't go any further than that because you're on your 35th, 36th day, and that's it. It can't be special ordered until the next council meeting because the 40 days have passed.
And I think the balance just needs to be struck there. For people that are looking to do the development, and also for the county government, things need to move at a certain pace. I don't think, some people have said 90 days. And they said for different levels too, have different tiers for different things. So.
Yeah, I think that look, Baltimore County, we have 850,000 people now. This is a huge county, and we need to modernize our government. We can't continue with a government like this that was formed in the late 1950s. What was sufficient in the late 1950s probably is not sufficient for today. People are demanding openness in government and accountability, and they deserve it. I mean, that's what we need. And so we need to modernize this charter. Again, we need to give people more opportunity to participate. And I wish I could be more optimistic that this is going to happen, but the problem is we're going to have lobbyists on, 4 of the 9 people on this commission are going to be lobbyists who are perfectly satisfied with the status quo and heaven forbid, I mean, I hope they're not going to suggest a change that would even make it more restrictive on the public. I don't know where
I
this
don't know
is
how
going.
it could be, really. I mean, when you have something moving
Might be
forward and they
surprised.
change the laws, it's moving along, so they moved the goalpost where the community, and this has happened numerous times that I've heard of, the community has actually won a battle, but then a law is changed or some kind of variance is made, and all that was for naught.